My name is Craig, and I'll be taking you on a journey today. Years ago, I wrote my autobiography. It was a exercise that we did in the early days of the Sunburst Community. So I've been reflecting on the topic, which is visualization and projection. And I'd like to share with you some excerpts from my autobiography. It was written in 1978, so I have some additions to make to it as we weave along through this narration. Norman Paulsen said, "Plant positive seeds in the field of power, not just for yourself, but for all beings." He also wrote, "Familiar faces I had known so long ago in visions began to appear one by one. Many had been led to the door through dreams and visions. Many had seen some of our physical projections before we had even started them. My story begins in 1973 in the spring. I had just picked up the autobiography of a yogi, the book by Paramahansa Yogananda, in a bookstore in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Me and my friend were going to hitchhike to Alaska. And it was kind of during the Vietnam War, the end of the Vietnam War. To make a long story a little shorter, we were turned back at the Canadian border. I got a ride, we both got a ride actually, to Estes Park, Colorado, where I spent 3 weeks up in the mountains living by myself in the company of a dog, a German Shepherd. And at night I would read chapters from the autobiography of Yogi by flashlight. It was still pretty cold up there in early April, and I remember one night we had it was a big snowstorm, and my tent was about as flat as a pancake. But I remember reading a section from that book that really stuck with me. It's from Yogananda had a vision when he was sitting on his bed. "This is the cosmic motion picture mechanism." A voice spoke as though from within the light, shedding its beam on the white screen of your bed sheets. "It is producing the picture of your body. Behold, your form is nothing but light." As I look back through the fabric of time, by reading that book, all these stories, wonderful stories that Yogananda told so many years ago, felt like they were actually happening to me. His experiences of relating how Babaji, the deathless saint, created a palace in the Himalayas for a young Lahiri Mayasaya to receive the Kriya initiation and bring the Kriya to the world. From master to disciple, This technique has been carried into the present. And my spiritual teacher, Norman Paulsen, in the late 70s, wrote his autobiography and talked about his personal relationship with his teacher, Paramahansa Yogananda. Norm was a part-time chauffeur for Paramahansaji, and on one trip up north, Yogananda mentioned to him as they were driving through Santa Barbara, "Big boy," he called him "Big boy, I always wanted to see a center here." And as I reflected on that sentence, probably 1947 or 1948, I felt like it was a seed that was planted, and that seed was Sunburst. Norm had many visions of Sunburst when he was at Yogananda's. In one particular one, he was taken in a celestial vehicle, which he called a ship, high above Santa Barbara. And as he looked down, he could see an old ranch house. Around in front of the ranch house were these young people waving at him. In the late 60s and early 70s, many people, young people, were guided to spiritual communes, and the doors at Sunburst were bursting. At the time of my first visit, Sunburst had a small house on Coda Street. From 1969 to 1975. I'd like to relate an experience I had when I came through that office in the fall of 1973. As I opened the door, to my right was a young lady sitting behind a desk. And she smiled, and she felt so familiar. I felt like I had come home. And I said, "I'd like to spend some time in Sunburst." She welcomed me and said to please be seated in the hallway where there was a bench, and the director would be able to see you. About 15 minutes later, the door opened, and I looked through the door and saw him sitting on his desk, or sitting behind his desk. And as I entered the door, through the doorway, I had a vision. I was standing at the base of this hill, beautiful green grass, and as I looked up, I could see that there were many people planting trees along that hillside. And I recognized they were probably fruit trees. And then it was almost as if the scene just changed just like that. I was in a warehouse, and my eyes fell on this stack of wooden lug boxes, and I read the logo. It said Sunburst Organic Tomatoes. And then, just like that, it was gone. I'd like to read again that quote that Norm wrote in his book 5 or 6 years later. Familiar faces I had known so long ago in visions began to appear one by one. Many had been led to the door through dreams and visions. Many had seen some of our physical projections before we even started them. So let's sit up straight, and as we go into our quiet time, take a few deep breaths. Check for any tension. And try to visualize that great light above the crowns of our heads. That great light, the cosmic projector. Well, I hope this story I've been weaving is a help to you. I know during these challenging times that we're all a part of, it's been my blessing to be able to share this with you. And I wish you health, happiness, and that your projections for the healing of yourselves and this beautiful planet will become manifest. I'd like to read a little sentence from Norman about this process of visualization and projection. Because it is a process, and it's a very creative process. Divine intervention is inspiration. Inspiration excites imagination. Imagination seeds the future. The future becomes visible in time. The whole creation is divine imagination made visible by thought, will, and life. Each of Spirit's children is a designer, equipped by the Holy One with the gift of imagination. By using this gift, we create images in the field of power around us. This is the field of life force that fills the great vessel of eternity. When we cast these images like seeds into the field of power, they take root and appear in time. Many blessings of light and love to you all.
Oh, come to me, thou shining sun. You are my life, my only one. Rise within my soul like fire. Let nothing quench this burning desire to see you, to know you, to hold you in my grasp, to stand the shore where oceans meet, of present, future, and past. Sun, in still of night, thy will be done. Let all the children sing, let all the heavens sing. Shining sun, you are my life, my only one. Rise within my soul like fire, let this burning desire to see you, to know you, to hold you in my grasp, to stand ashore where oceans meet of present, future, and past. Oh, come to me, thou rising sun, in still of night, thy will be done. Let all the children sing, let all the heavens sing, let all the children sing, let all the heavens sing, let all the children sing.